talking about a hard topic that really is hard to fathom and hard to talk about here. Domestic violence, something that if you haven't gone through it, you certainly know somebody who has, and if you haven't had the privilege of going through it, you're one of the lucky ones. Today we're spending some time with Carmen Hutson with Partnership, and thank you so much for making the time to be here, Carmen.
Thank you for having me here, Amelia. I really appreciate it.
So Partnership, can you give me an idea of what you guys really do in our community?
Well, with our domestic violence and our rape crisis center, we call it the victim support services.
Yeah.
And so through those two different programs, we serve individuals who have experienced domestic violence and sexual assault. And so we provide a wide range of services. For the domestic violence shelter, we have the domestic violence shelter. We always also provide services out in the community for those people who are staying put in their homes. And then we also provide court advocacy and counseling and another array of services. Yeah. With our Rape Crisis Center, we provide services to, we provide forensic medical exams for evidence purposes, but we also provide the full range of comprehensive services for them.
You guys do so much for our community, but what message would you want to share with survivors who feel isolated or maybe they're unsure about how to get help?
I would definitely want them to know that they are not alone, and that they can always call our hotline. Our number is 423-755-2700, and they could speak to somebody who is caring, supportive. They're trained to be able to answer all of their questions, just so that they could feel supported. Yeah. I mean, that's so important because individuals have to feel safe in order for them to leave a domestic violence situation. So sometimes it's several conversations over a period of time before they actually decide to leave.
And I think that I love that you mentioned that, because that is something that if you haven't been through it, I think a lot of people say, oh, just leave them. Like, they don't understand that there's layers, there's a lot that goes into these situations, and it could be dangerous to leave something. Right. So what steps would you give someone to safely leave an abusive relationship, and how would they do that with your help?
First, I would say call the hotline and to speak to one of our crisis advocates and just create a plan. Yeah. The safety plan is so important. People don't know this, but the most dangerous time of a domestic violence relationship is when the survivor is actually leaving. They have a between 75 and 80% chance of actually being killed. And so that safety plan is so important. And so our advocates will talk to them on the phone on what they need to do in preparation for them to leave. Sometimes there's time to plan, and sometimes there's no time to plan. But if we're able to plan with them on what they need, like making copies of birth certificates if they have children, social security numbers, medications, different things that are really important. But like I said, if they don't have time to plan, we can't provide those services, and we can get them copies of what they need. We have wonderful donors out in the community that give us clothing, food, everything that they need, because sometimes when they come into our shelter, it's the clothes on their back. That's what they have. And so we can provide additional things. So we can work either way. Our advocates are really good about thinking outside of the box, but we want to make them feel safe enough to be able to leave.
That's so powerful. Tell me, if someone needs help or they know someone who does, how would they go to you guys for support? Whether they go in person, you already mentioned using the hotline. What are some ways that they can do that?
Well, definitely the best way is the hotline.
Okay.
Because once they call the hotline, then we've already talked to them, we've done an assessment with them, and if they're coming into shelter, we schedule the intake for them to come into shelter. Every once in a while we might have a walk-in, but usually it's through the hotline and an appointment has been made. So if somebody knows of somebody who's in a domestic violence situation, I would say please call the hotline, get some information so that they can tell their loved one, hey, this is what's available.
Carmen, thank you so much for making the time to be here. It truly is making such a difference in people's lives, and you could make a difference in someone's lives by seriously just calling and getting the information you need. Is there any sort of website that you guys have as well where people could go find information?
Yeah, it's partnershipfca.com.
At partnershipfca.com. Go and look that up if you need those resources or you know someone who does. We'll also be posting those resources on our website at wdef.com. Thanks for joining us. We're in for a short break. We'll be right back here on News 12 this morning.